Bear and I
horrible
are
to
not
me.
friends.
Yeah, like those guys to me, they're just the worst sort of partisan nonsense. You want everybody.
But the good part of that is we don't hide it. Like, he doesn't like me and I don't like him. And we don't deny it and we don't like it.
No, but he's nothing.
This. Chuck Schumer's got the mask on, and look at Colbert, no mask, spreading pandemic viruses. Look, he's dancing. High-fiving and dancing with Chuck Schumer. What is this? Well, what kind of signaling is this?
Can you imagine Bill Hicks fucking dancing with a senator?
Jesus Christ. Well, Colbert was never...
Can you picture Bill Hicks dancing with a senator? Exactly, Jesus Christ. The thing is, Colbert was never really a stand-up comedian in the traditional sense. Now, the backlash over Stephen Colbert's performance at CBS has spiraled into a full-blown media circus, with a swarm of comedians rushing to defend the once-revered late-night host, but not everyone's buying it. A few brutally honest voices are calling Colbert out for what he's become, leading that charge. Maher and Joe Rogan. Neither held back, ripping into Colbert for abandoning his role as a comic escape and transforming into yet another suffragist anti-Trump pundit.
These people are all friends, like Rachel Maddow and Democratic Party politicians. They're friends.
Have you ever seen a video of Chuck Schumer and Stephen Colbert dancing together?
Oh God, I can't even imagine.
You need to see it.
Do we have time?
You need to see it.
Yeah.
You need to just see them dancing together. and I feel the same way about comedians that you do about journalists. You know, like you can't be friends with those people because there's gonna come a time where you have to talk shit about them.
Joe Rogan struck the match when he torched Colbert for cozying up to the Democratic establishment. Now, don't get it twisted. Rogan's not preaching hate toward politicians. He's pointing out a hard, uncomfortable truth. When you get too close to power, you lose your edge. The spine disappears. When comedians become chummy with the people they're supposed to satirize, real accountability goes out the window. That's the core problem. And it's exactly why Colbert, Stewart, and Kimmel can't seem to call out the left with any real force. Their bias isn't accidental, it's baked into the relationships they've built. Trump, meanwhile, isn't their friend. He doesn't sip champagne in the green room or play to their crowd, and that makes him an easy, convenient target. The left, on the other hand, when they get critiqued, it's a polite tap if.
I ran into that with George Bush. I remember being incredibly disappointed because I was a Dennis Miller fan. As a comic, he was a very good comic. And, you know, his HBO special was brilliant. Had some great shit, great jokes, great one-liners.
Absolutely.
But then he said he was going to give George Bush a pass because he's his friend and he wouldn't make fun of him. Look at this. Chuck Schumer's got the mask on, and look at Colbert, no mask, spreading pandemic viruses. Look, he's dancing. High-fiving and dancing with Chuck Schumer. What is this? Well, what kind of signaling?
Rogan didn't stop there. He kept the heat on, calling out Colbert for betraying the core mission of their craft, using sharp, fearless comedy to hold those in power accountable. Instead, Rogan argued Colbert traded satire for sycophancy, ditching punchlines in favor of partisan pandering. His once bold comedy became little more than a mouthpiece for an anti-Trump narrative that, in the end, fell flat. The real kicker, Colbert, the same guy who wagged his finger at America over pandemic protocols, couldn't even follow his own advice. While preaching mandates from his stage, he was spotted maskless, flaunting the very rules he pushed on everyone else. Rogan didn't miss a beat, ripping into the hypocrisy and calling it what it was: propaganda dressed as comedy. When the court jester turns into the king's yes-man, the entire kingdom loses, and Rogan made damn sure people knew.
Bill Hicks fucking dancing with a senator.
Jesus Christ. Well, Colbert was never really a stand-up, so, I mean, I guess he has that.
No, but I mean...
But he was a comic when the Colbert Report was on. I mean, that was hilarious.
It was really good.
He was great.
Yeah.
He was great, and that show was a great takeoff of a fucking pompous, ridiculous Republican.
Exactly.
I mean, it was fucking really good. And then when you see this, you're like, wait a minute. What the fuck? What are you doing?
Right.
The fuck are you doing?
And why were you doing the other thing before? Like,
right.
was it to do this?
A lot of today's comedians aren't in it for truth-telling or driving social change. They're climbing a very different ladder. For them, Comedy is just a launchpad away to gain access to the elite circles of wealth and influence they use to mock. The moment the invites to celebrity galas and political fundraisers start rolling in, the edgy truth-teller act gets quietly shelved. Very few stay committed to using their platform to speak truth to power. Most chase the perks, the private jets, the media deals, the political connections. And once they've had a taste of that world, they fall in line, loyal foot soldiers, doing whatever keeps the money and status flowing. That's exactly why Colbert hammered Trump night after night, not out of moral conviction but because it scored points with the right people. He didn't stand up to power. He became part of it, and now, Joe Rogan is here to pull back the curtain, narrating how Colbert got swallowed whole by the very machine he once claimed to mock.
I think what happened was, and I'm just going to guess, but I think what happened was he had this brilliant character. It was amazing on The Daily Show. Then he does the Colbert Report. It's amazing there. It's a great show, right? And then they offer him the fucking carrot. What's the carrot? The carrot's a late night talk show.
Right.
Man, the late night talk show for, I guess, kind of my generation was the thing that everybody wanted. Kimmel and Fallon and all these guys, like, you got to host the Tonight Show, or Jimmy Kimmel's got his own show. You got your own show. You got the Letterman show. You got the this show, the that show. That was the thing, man.
Right.
If you could get your own show like that, like, you were fucking in. If they offered it to you, you took it.
Pointing out that Colbert's shift wasn't just personal, it signaled a broader decay in the comedy world. Late night used to be a space where comedians punched up, challenged authority, and made the powerful sweat. Now, it's just another arm of the establishment, filled with safe applause lines, sanitized takes, and predictable outrage. Colbert became the poster boy for that transformation. A once clever satirist turned into a reliable cog in the machine, delivering nightly monologues that feel more like PR statements than punchlines. And the audience, they're not laughing because it's funny, they're clapping because they agree. That's not comedy. That's conformity. And Rogan's calling it out.
But then, to be that show guy, he has to be a different guy. So now he's not... Colbert from the show was this genius parody. Now he's just Stephen Colbert.
Right.
That's who he is.
They destroyed the essence. Well, by giving him something.
The best example of it was when Jon Stewart came on, and Jon Stewart was doing that bit about the lab leak theory, and Colbert is jumping in and stepping all over it.
Right.
And I'd like to see some evidence of that. Like, he's like fucking up the bit. Clearly, Stewart, who's a great comic, is in the middle of a bit.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And Colbert's trying to, he's like, you can see the panic in his eyes that this is not going along with the narrative. So he's hamstringing the bit.
Right.
Which is crazy to see.
Yep.
Everyone has bias, that's human. We lean left or right, vote one way or another. But Colbert's bias wasn't just visible, it was nauseating. And now, it's clear why. He wasn't just another liberal with an opinion. He was a well-compensated mouthpiece, echoing whatever his left-leaning handlers needed broadcast to the masses. He didn't just lose his edge, he sold it, trading integrity for airtime and applause. Remember that ridiculous vaccine mandate bit? The one with dancers dressed as syringes, prancing around in a cringe-worthy musical number. That wasn't satire. It wasn't comedy. It was state-approved propaganda with a laugh track. Colbert wasn't mocking authority. He was shielding it, cloaking obedience in limp punchlines and calling it courage. While real comedians were asking hard questions, Colbert was busy putting on a Broadway routine for the establishment. His loyalty wasn't to truth or to Comedy 8, was to the narrative.
I think that's true with comics, with any kind of journalist. Like once you start getting, handed things, then you've lost. You know what I mean? They have you at that point. And you got to get out of that habit, It's like, or you can't cross that line.
You can't cross that line.
Yeah.
You can't. But if you want to be on a talk show, you have to cross that line. There's no other way you get on that show. You can't get on that show and have some real counterculture narrative that is not approved and sanctioned, and you spit it out there on NBC.
This is exactly why someone like Jon Stewart can disappear from the spotlight for years, only to be summoned back the moment he's useful to the puppet masters. These power brokers don't retire their assets. They shelve them until the script calls for their return. And when it does, they dust them off, hand them their lines, and send them out under the bright lights to play their part. There's no room for independent thought, no space for real dissent, Just prepackaged outrage, network-approved monologues, and a carefully curated edge that always seems to punch in the same direction. Even worse, these once revered comedy icons are reduced to performing cringeworthy, out-of-touch stunts, leaving audiences not laughing, but wincing.
See that you're right, that all the comics that were supposed to put everybody to bed or whatever it is, they all went bananas left. I mean, Colbert, these guys are terrible. Like Kimmel to me is just maybe friends with him. I know a lot of people that were.
I love Jimmy.
Yeah, like he is.
Colbert and I are not
me.
friends.
Yeah, like those guys to me, they're just the worst sort of partisan nonsense. You want everybody.
But the good part of that is we don't hide it. Like he doesn't like me and I don't like him, and we don't deny it, and we don't like it.
No, but he's nothing.
Colbert?
Yeah, he's nothing.
He's also very successful.
No, but he's just giving the machine what it wants all the time.
Bill Maher has never minced words when it comes to Stephen Colbert. Time and again, he's called him out for shamelessly pandering to industry elites and refusing to challenge the very system he claims to satirize. Maher sees through the act. Colbert isn't fighting the machine, he is the machine. And if there's one clear sign someone's a puppet, it's when they're handed platforms they never truly earned. Colbert headlining one of the most prestigious talk shows in America was never about talent, it was about compliance. As Joe Rogan pointed out, he never really fit the mold. The charisma felt forced, the jokes were safe, and the edge, the one thing that made late night legendary, was nowhere in sight. He wasn't picked because he was the funniest or the sharpest. He was picked because he was willing to echo the narrative, willing to cozy up to power, willing to abandon real comedy in favor of script.
Giving the machine what it wants. I wish I had thought of that phraseology.
Colbert's audience has been tuning out for years, not because they changed, but because the show did. What was once sharp, balanced comedy turned into predictable, partisan preaching disguised as entertainment. He traded satire for scripts, humor for political sermons, and in the process, lost both credibility and viewers. Voices like Bill Maher and Joe Rogan called him out for abandoning comedy's true purpose, challenging power, not serving it. When comedians become puppets, the joke's on the man, nobody's laughing anymore.